Hey Lana, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you do like a long sentence for me so can make sure it sounds okay?
Yeah, this is me talking in a longer sentence, and hopefully Lana doesn't make fun of my Invisalign.
That sounded perfect. Blender, I just promoted you to speaker. Can we do a little audio check for you as well?
Can I do a tongue twister in Slovenian just so I hear how it sounds from your perspective?
Whatever you'd like for the audio check, sure.
V krepkem paketu prek polj kopitljajo skopiti kobile. Does it sound good?
Nice. Yeah, your audio sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. We're just gonna wait a couple of minutes for more people to come into the space, and then we will start at the top of the hour.
I'm excited to get this rolling. Blendor, good to hear your voice again.
I don't know. There's not a lot of people who say that's good to hear my voice again. Usually they're just like, oh, it's you again. So it's really nice to hear positive words.
I'm ready for the Blendor jokes, man. The classic jokes. I feel like that's my highlight of my day.
I hope I don't get to say any of the jokes because I think that people will be just disturbed by what kind of a sense of humor that I have. So let's keep it professional, guys. Okay.
Good call. Keep it at 100.
We're gonna wait like 1 minute more, and then we will start. I need to figure out how to get the elevator music on these spaces while we wait. That would be very ideal.
Yeah, seriously. I feel like we just played in the background.
Yeah,
Yeah, it feels like it
exactly.
should be a solved problem.
Mm-hmm. You would think it would be like a feature, but alas. Okay, I think it is time. Gabe, do you want to start off our space?
Yeah, definitely. So, hello everyone. So my name is Gabe, and welcome to and thanks for joining our Twitter Spaces. This is our second Twitter Space that we've had with Boba Networks. Super fortunate to be partnering with them, and really excited to kind of deep dive into some of the new features that we have. So we have some really exciting alpha to announce today. So buckle up, right? And we'll get rolling through this. There'll also be some cool opportunities for folks to potentially earn some things. So I'll keep that a secret and let Lana dig into that a little bit more. So before we kind of get the party going here, if folks want to click on the blue button at the bottom of your screen so that we can share this space to your audiences, or retweet the spaces tweet, and on both the Boba and Across page, make sure that you tag us, and then we can get some more folks coming in and kind of get this really rolling. Lana, any suggestions there on retweeting?
Yep, so the space was, or the tweet was just shared up here on our space. So you can just click on that and retweet, or like Gabe said, you can click the blue button bottom right and share that out. The more you share, the more people will join this amazing space. So that is always very appreciated. My name is Lana. I'm the communications manager at Across. Today, speaking, we have Blendor, who is marketing strategy at Boba, and we also have Chase Coleman, who is Across's data scientist. So hello, everyone.
Hey
Howdy,
guys.
howdy. Good to be here.
Great
Exciting
to
on a
have you.
Tuesday. Yeah, good to have everybody. So teed up for
Well,
today.
it's like a fake Tuesday. It's like a Tuesday after a holiday, which is like a Monday.
Exactly. I just hope it means that it's like a nice short week, right? Since we've already skipped over Monday. So it's like off to a great start, and Twitter Spaces start. So it's like it's no better way to start a Tuesday.
Just saying that in Europe we don't celebrate Memorial Day, but I also took the Monday off, so
In solidarity, I like it.
That's the right strategy, is take off every country's holidays.
Yeah, Blender, what's your next one? I'm gonna make sure that I flag it there so I can take it off.
I'm thinking of relocating somewhere to the south of Europe because generally speaking, south of Europe has a lot of mandatory holidays. So if you're up with like having 3 months of holidays every year, I'll let you know of my calendar.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. Unfortunately, the U.S. doesn't follow the same things, but you know, we try. We had yesterday off rather. All right, so let's get rolling. So the agenda today for everybody who's on the line is we want to do a deep dive on a couple of things here and the partnership that we have going. So one of them is the recent release of version 2 of Across Protocol. Huge thing. We released this last week. This has been tremendously successful. I hope everyone has had a chance to go use our new bridge functionality, but we're going to be exploring that in depth today. We also want to spend some time talking with Boba about their WAGMI system and the deep dive. We kind of did a little bit of an intro the last session that we had on Cinco de Mayo, handed out some WAGMI options, but we definitely want to do a deeper dive here with the folks from Boba and what it really means to have our version 2 and how we can help each other in the L2 ecosystem. And then on top of that is the kind of this teaser and initiative for folks out there is that just like last time, we'll be keeping our eyes out for some quality contributors at the end of today's space. So if you have something you think you contribute to the conversation, then please come up and speak. And you may be surprised at the end with some DMs for some sweet, sweet WAGMI tokens. So for those of you who've just come into this space and maybe aren't familiar with Across or Boba, maybe I think it'd probably be good to give a little introduction here. So maybe starting with Across, I'll hand it over to Lana. Do you want to kind of introduce what Across is?
Yeah, definitely. So we will just do the quick summary here. So Across is a cross-chain bridge that currently supports bridging back and forth between L2s and mainnet, with Boba being one of our supported chains. So Across's pillars, we pride ourselves on our security, low fees, and near instantaneous transfers.
All right, and maybe I'll introduce Boba, and Blender, if you want to jump in with kind of any extra flavors of it, then go for it. So Boba Network is an Ethereum Layer 2 scaling solution and hybrid compute platform, offering lightning-fast transactions and fees up to 60 times less than Ethereum. Boba's hybrid compute brings the power of Web 2 on-chain with smarter smart contracts that allow developers and creators to leverage off-chain compute and real-world data to offer an enriched experience unlike anything else on the market today.
I love it how you guys are so professional, with the description and so on. It's amazing. Basically, hi guys, my name is Blendor. I do marketing strategy at Boba. And when people ask what a Boba is, Boba means a lot of different things in a lot of different countries. Like one of the funniest things that happened recently. So we were at this conference in Croatia, and there was a lot of people coming up to our how do you say, to our stall, to our like presentation booth, and everybody was asking, "So, do you guys have boba here?" And I was like, no, I'm so sorry because we couldn't get like a local supplier for the boba. And everybody was just laughing all the time. And I was like, what's so funny about the boba tea? And then I realized that boba in that region is a slang word for MDMA. So people had totally different expectations of boba, but we come to a term that boba is a synonym for super fast, super cheap, and especially smarter transactions on Ethereum using our optimistic rollup layer 2 technology. But hey, it also means MDMA in Croatian, if anybody's interested. So yeah, boba as the Ethereum layer 2.
I love that. Folks can know that they like can come away learning something completely different from like Web3 at all. Like now everybody knows how to say MDMA in Croatia. That's something good to know. So Blender, one question I have is what's the genesis behind the Boba name? And is it not MDMA?
Oh my God, people listening to this will be now, what is this guy doing in the marketing department of Boba? Basically, now the official story behind it is that due to a lot of our users coming from predominantly Southeast Asia, everybody was looking for like, quick and simple transactions and a technology, a token that would enable this. So Boba, when we started to coin this term, we were looking at something that would be really for the people. We pride ourselves as the technology layer by the people for the people. We really want to be simple and fun and easy to use. And somehow boba tea came to mind. Everybody likes boba. Like, who doesn't like boba? And I'm not meaning the Croatian boba, but I'm meaning the boba tea. And it rolls off the tongue. It's easily pronounced in multiple languages across the world. Everybody knows about boba tea, and we really wanted like a representation of how would you feel using our technology. But now, since we know that it also means other things in other languages, I'm trying to lobby at our marketing department just to see like if we can push this region-specific narrative. But don't tell my boss, so she won't get angry. Super easy, super fast, cheap. It brings smile to your face. So boba should somehow encompass all of these things.
I love it. That's a good explanation. And I have to say, working with your team has been a lot of fun. You guys are some of the most fun to like just hang out with and talk. So appreciate you joining us.
I'm blushing. Thank you.
All right. So what do you think, Lana? Should we jump into a little bit of a deep dive on V2 and then jump over to kind of the partnership with Boba and what that means for WAGMI and our continued partnership?
Yeah, let's do it. So, if you could not tell by this space's title, Across V2 has indeed launched, and it is now live on Across.2. So, we wanted to talk a little bit about what features V2 brings. So, we have, as I mentioned before, our data scientist, Chase, up here as a speaker. So, Chase, let's dive into it. What features does V2 bring? What are you most excited about?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of things V2 is bringing to the table, and I think our team is obviously really excited, but I think people that are listening should also be pretty excited. So one of the things that Across V1 focused on is one of the biggest gaps in the cross-chain world is actually it's typically moving funds from L2 to L1. And so that's the problem. That's the problem we tackled with Across V1 is how do we move funds from an L2 to an L1? Now, we got a lot of requests that said, well, we'd really like to be able to move funds from either L1 to L2 or L2 to L2. And, can can you build something that does that? And so we took that to heart, and across V2 now supports L2 to L2 transfers. And we also added Polygon as a supported chain. And so one of the goals that we have here is we'd love to be a one-stop shop for people. If you need to move funds from one chain to another, you know where to look, across.to. So I think that's, probably the biggest and most exciting of the changes. But I think some of the other changes, they kind of sit underneath and are pretty useful. So we also moved from across V1 to V2 to what we call a hub and spoke model. And so one of the things that I think is actually really powerful about across is we actually only have a single liquidity pool that liquidity providers put money in, and it sits on L1. And so you're kind of getting this, maximal security, and funds only move to L2s when needed to make these repayments. And so kind of your funds are kept in a single place. They're not kind of getting crisscrossed all over the place, and you know where you can find them. We have this notion, again, this ties into our single liquidity pool of what we're calling just-in-time liquidity, where basically we move funds from L1 to L2, quote unquote, just in time. And so this really speeds up and facilitates the types of transfers that people are looking to make. One of the other requests we had a lot is a lot of the people in our community wanted to actually run relayers, and they wanted to participate in kind of this, providing this bridging service to individuals and, making fees off of it. But one of the problems was that a lot of the transfers that come through across I think our median transfer is something like $40,000 or $50,000. And not everyone in our community wanted to, lock up $40,000 or $50,000 or more to be running one of these relayers. And so one of the things that we're excited about is relayers can actually do partial fills now. So, so someone can, if the $500,000 transaction comes through, but your relayer only has $40,000, you can send 40,000 of the 500,000, and you'll receive kind of a pro rata share of the fees that user was going to make. And then kind of the final benefit that I think we have is this idea of netting. And so we use so for example, if you're sending funds from Arbitrum to Boba, but someone else wants to send funds from Boba to Arbitrum, we kind of line up this coincidence of wants using our relayers. And this actually, because these two transfers net out, it locks up less of the LP funds. And so you don't have to wait as long. And so we're able to cycle through our capital much more quickly and much more efficiently, which, you have this like, when you build a bridge, you have a tension, is you want to offer your users low fees, but you want to pay your liquidity providers a high APY. And this idea of netting is actually allowing us to offer lower fees to our lower costs to our users, but higher APYs to our LPs, because we're able to cycle this capital more quickly. And so, now instead of, if you have one ETH and it gets locked up for 7 days and only earns 0.05 in fees, hypothetically, you could now earn 0.02 fees, 4 or 5 times. And so that starts to add up, and this quick cycling via netting, I think, benefits everyone.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, Chase. Thanks for going through some of those things.
That was a wall, huh?
No, it's good. It's good. So maybe one thing I'd like to talk about is the L2 transferring and kind of the speed of that. Have you done any tests? I know John had done one of these. Have you done any cycling through the different layer 2s that we have and kind of the speed and related savings?
So I haven't done it yet, but on kind of our launch day, one of our team members went from every supported chain to another. So I think they went Arbitrum to Boba to Polygon to Optimism to Arbitrum. And I think it cost them, and they just moved, I think, 0.1 ETH. And they threw that whole cycle. And I think they ended up getting like 0.0999 or something like that. And so the fees are, I think, quite low and quite competitive. And again, but that doesn't mean we're not paying our LPs a reasonable APY.
Yeah, that's
Maybe just to jump in, I also saw a tweet where this guy, maybe it was somebody from your team, like he moved a couple of $100 all across, maybe it was like the same tweet, across all of the L2s. And yeah, it took like a couple of minutes and I don't know, $10, $20, something like that, which is actually quite amazing. This is something a lot of the Boba team are also very excited about, especially the degens that we have currently on our
Well, yeah,
roster.
I mean, I think right now we're like L2 adoption, I don't think is at like peak adoption. L2 isn't at peak adoption yet, right? Like I think the people who are moving to L2s and moving between L2s right now are probably like slightly degen. Like I think about myself or I think about some of the people on our team and like we're moving these funds because we're like looking for these like yield opportunities. And if you're looking for these yield opportunities, you really want to pay like the minimum amount you can so you can maximize your yield. And so, no, I think that's exactly right. We're super excited about it.
Can
which
we
is
just sorry? Can we just rebrand the degens into like I don't know pioneers or something like that? Just so, because they usually try
I
out all
mean,
of these new things first.
I'm trying, yeah, pioneers with a relatively high risk tolerance. I feel like there needs to be like this, like, because degen typically means like you're willing to take on a little bit of extra risk in return for some extra yield.
I like it. It's like Wild West pioneers, right? You're like, oh man, I may not make it, but hey, I'm headed to California
Yeah, I think that's right. Headed to California for the gold rush.
for the gold rush. Exactly. Maybe they're just called gold rushers or something like that. Yeah, I like it. So what's really cool though, what I think is interesting about this is that in our last space, we talked a little bit about the merge being pushed off and what that necessarily meant for the different L2s. And still this concept that, okay, yeah, merge gets pushed off, but without an easy way to move between the L2 ecosystems, it seemed like you just had to choose one or the other or take a risk on one, maybe keep a pot of money on each just to dabble in whatever the different APY opportunities there are out there. But to be able to move quickly within a matter of minutes for $20 between all the different L2s that across supports, I think is super huge because that just means you're constantly hunting for that APY. You're pioneering all over the place.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think this is the type of, I think there's lots of options when you choose to bridge. I do think we're actually the cheapest. And I think one of the places that we shine the most is for big transfers. So, if you're moving 100 ETH, across doesn't actually have slippage. Our model doesn't depend on kind of one of these, AMM pools sitting like some kind of like a stable swap AMM pool where you're swapping like across ETH for ETH because we're always working with ETH. And so there's no slippage. So now if you're thinking about someone who's like, so now like moving back, like, so now moving from like degen to like somewhat sophisticated traders, like if you're trying to do cross-chain arbitrage, I think across is your best bet. It's going to happen quickly and it's not going to cost you that much. And when you're doing these like, if you're trying to just arb Uniswap prices across, Boba, Arbitrum, and Optimism, um, like you're not making a big percentage on each trade, but you're able to like extract a lot of value by doing this. And I think having low fees for your bridge is really important for that type of like arbitrage opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a good point. So, Chase, question for you. If folks want to get involved as a relayer, right? Because now there are these new opportunities where you don't have to have maybe a ton of money in there to be the sole relayer for these transactions because of the ability to do these partial fills. How do folks get involved now that V2 is launched?
Yeah, so we're working on like, when you launch a new product, like you have to iron some stuff out. So our relayers are up and running, and we're kind of putting them through some tests. Um, and we're working on right now, so there's like drafts of this circulating internally right now, but there will be documentation on docs.across.to for how anyone could hypothetically run a relayer. And you could also, so these docs will be oriented around, how does our team run our relayer and look for this, look for these opportunities. But, pretty sophisticated people could come in and they could say, hey, these are the trade-offs that the across team is making when they run their relayer. We could actually do this better, but you'll have a code base that you can build from. So you can either run, a version of our relayer, or you can use our code base to kind of launch your own version of the relayer. But that'll be coming in like the next couple of weeks. It's coming soon.
Awesome. So stay tuned if you want to be a relayer and get some of those opportunities to get extra yield just by being with those relayer and doing those partial fills.
Okay, and so just to kind of summarize everything that Chase has said, so basically L2 to L2 transfers and the new chain added, those are kind of like the outward facing features that you'll notice when you go on across.2. But then under the hood, we have this added capital efficiency where that goes under with like the hub and spoke model, just-in-time liquidity and netting. So all of that is things that you won't necessarily like see on the front end, but you will notice in the background as you're using the bridge. Is that kind of all correct, Chase, would you say?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. On the front end, like the only thing you're going to notice is we now support these L2 to L2s, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of really cool shit that's going to make your life better.
Love to hear that. So just from the features that we have talked about, I wanted to see if anyone had any quick questions on the V2 features before we moved on. We'll give it a couple seconds. Okay. Bumblebee. Add a speaker. All right, Bumblebee, you can speak. Oh, it looks like you're... Oh, there you are.
Yes, baby. Oh.
Well, I'm so sorry about that.
Somebody is super excited about the features, so that's it's good to hear.
V2 is the solution.
All right, well, they have been removed from our space. Does anyone have any appropriate questions about the V2 features? Okay, so we will move on from that. So Chase, what does this mean for Boba users? What difference will Boba users see when they're, bridging to Boba compared to like V1? So what can they really expect as differences?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is like you're going to see even lower fees than you saw before. You're going to have more options for where you can go. And we also are now going to be able to support kind of WAGMI tracking. So we talked with the Boba team about, how do we track people who are moving to Boba so that we can kind of give them these WAGMI options and reward them for participating on the Boba network, which I think is going to be really awesome.
Yeah, really excited to be able to launch that feature so that we can actually track like how much volume is going to Boba from across. Which I wonder, Lana, what do you think? Is this a good chance to get Blender to give us a little bit of deep dive into WAGMI and what that means?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do a little pivot into just like what is WAGMI?
Cool. First of all, I would just like to quote a couple of my friends using the Across V2 bridge. So one of friends just wrote that I asked them like how do they like Across V2, and they said super fast, no slippage, only really low fees. And people are also mentioning all the time that the V2 is going to be a really, really cool addition to their arsenal of different bridges and tools and everything they need so they can degen into the crypto space. Now, if we get back to WAGMI, like everybody knows WAGMI stands for We're All Gonna Make It. And yeah, so basically, this is the idea. We're all gonna make it, and we're all gonna make it together. The WAGMI is basically a KPI-based incentive program that we run at Boba Network. Don't let the long words confuse you. The idea is very simple. So we at Boba, as infrastructure providers, as a layer 2 solution, we really want for people to use our solution. Why? Because it enables you an quicker, easier, faster, cheaper transaction. And we really want for people to start using it and to use Boba, with the solutions our partners provide. And how do we incentivize people to start using not only like Boba, but also all of these cool products that are currently available on Boba? It's simple. We start a program where we incentivize good behavior or beneficial behavior for our DApp users and in turn also for our network. So the idea is fairly simple. In every cohort, in every specific time range, in our case, every month, we start tracking our network from the 1st to the 31st of the month or the 30th of the month. And we scan the network for certain behavior that we think will help grow the network or make the experience better in every single way. And based on that, we set some KPIs alongside our partners. So the idea is fairly simple. If you go and engage in that positive behavior, you will be rewarded with WAGMI tokens. And depending on if everybody that uses the network reaches a certain goal, that KPI, you can then redeem the WAGMI token for a certain amount of Boba. So just to give you a really quick and simple example. So in our first iteration, WAGMI V0, we wanted to incentivize the TVL on our network. And basically, the more that you used the apps on Boba network, if you bridged and if you traded and did all of the other stuff, and if that in turn increased the TVL of Boba network as such, you were rewarded with a certain amount of WAGMI V0 tokens. Now, depending on the KPI that was set for this TVL activity, if the TVL of the network passed a certain number, you can then exchange at the end of the cohort, at the end of this time period, your WAGMI V0 tokens for a certain amount of Boba. So let's say I want, just to give you a quick example, if the TVL of Boba reaches $100 million, then you can redeem your WAGMI token in a ratio of 1-to-1. One WAGMI V token will equal to one Boba. If the TVL goes beyond $200 million, then all of the WAGMI tokens will be redeemed, one WAGMI token for two Boba tokens, etc., etc. So you then set these KPIs based on what is currently needed in the space. So you want to incentivize will bring a lot of good activity, on the network. It started as a fun experiment, and I'm really glad that it became a staple of activity on our platform. I think that a lot of people accepted the WAGMI incentives as a good thing, and I don't know. What's your opinion on WAGMI as incentives? Like, what's your experience from the across viewpoint? How do you like it? Or
Yeah, so I'll say I think it's been really cool to see. I think it's, I don't know the metrics from your guys' side, but I know from talking to folks just anecdotally, they've been really excited about the process and the idea that it's an opportunity to earn these options and then redeem it, like you said, for depending on how well the network is done and TVL. So I think it's just a cool example of it. Now I believe this kind of initially started as a way to promote Boba, but we're ending what WAGMI V3 and moving into WAGMI V4. So, Blender, is there an idea that this will stick around for a while, or is this, you're kind of going to use these KPI options for a little while and maybe transition to something else? What's kind of your future thinking on WAGMI?
so, just to be completely honest, at first when I saw WAGMI, I thought that WAGMI is like a gimmick. I was like, okay, so you're giving out free money basically. But the more I dived into WAGMI incentives and the more I started to talk with people and see the impact that WAGMI had on their activity, all of these different projects profited, not in a financial sense, but just generally in interaction with people all across the board. So WAGMI as incentives was a really, really good move, not only in like a financial way, in a financial sense, but also in like showcasing, giving a platform to all of these different dApps that were parts of our earlier WAGMI cohorts. We've done a WAGMI V3, so this is like the fourth iteration. We started with V0. And we're also starting with V4, but a bit of alpha. The WAGMI V4 will be something different. So we are now slowly moving away from WAGMI as incentives, and we're trying a new thing, which we think that will change the perception of Boba and also bring a more pleasant experience to everybody using our products. We are hinting about it on our Twitter and all of the other social media accounts. Let's just say it's going to be a very exciting thing. I also have like a loud mouth, so I'm just trying not to spoil too much.
I love it. You heard it here first, right? On this joint Twitter Spaces, some solid alpha coming from Boba. So, what do we do here, Blender? Is the message here for everybody to follow the Boba Twitter account and see what V4 means?
Please follow the Boba Twitter account. Read closely what do we say in tweets. Because our social media team and community team have been dropping, hints here and there. Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I think it's pretty obvious what's coming. But there's like a lot of people that's writing on Twitter, like, "What do you speak in codes?" And I'm like, I mean, just look at it. It's right in front of your eyes. But an official announcement will come soon, and I think that WAGMI is getting an upgrade, and it's going to be a fun upgrade for everybody using Boba. So stay tuned to our social media. Everything's there, and more to come in the following days.
That's awesome. And so also speaking of alpha, I will drop a little bit here as well that WAGMI is a KPI option. And so the UMA KPI options that this comes from, they are now going to kind of like take a new route, and there will be a big announcement tomorrow about it. So stay tuned on the Across Twitter, on the UMA Twitter, and you will see a pretty big announcement about the KPI options and kind of the route that we're going tomorrow. So just some extra alpha there as well to add to Boba's.
I can't wait to see the outcome of that announcement.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, follow all, UMA Twitter, across Twitter, and just check it out and you'll see.
So much alpha being dropped in this first space here. Now I'm just waiting, like,
I know,
should
right?
I be present on more of these spaces in the future?
Have y'all seen the Marvel movies? So they have, there are all these secrets or whatever that they don't want to give away. And apparently, one of the actors has become known for accidentally giving hints. This is Tom Holland. And so whenever he does interviews now, they force one of the more senior actors to go with him. And that senior actor's job is to make sure he keeps his mouth shut.
Yeah, he literally leaked the entire trailer, or no, he leaked the whole movie on his social media once. I remember this.
Apparently, they also don't give him the script anymore. If we're not careful, we're going to end
Ah,
up banished like he is.
or we're just going to be super popular is what it is. Like, I think these are the spaces to follow, because clearly this is where you're going to hear all the news first. So Blender, you are Tom Holland, is that what it is?
Let's say that I will politely decline to answer this question, but based on my reactions, you can probably, it's safe to say that I'm leaning more towards Tom Holland of Boba. I'm trying really hard not to tell anything. So, yeah. Until SEC comes knocking on my door saying that I'm market manipulating, everything is cool. So, yeah. Bad jokes, guys.
So Lana, what do you think? Should we see if there's some questions from the community, and if not, we can kind of ask each other some questions and go down some of the items here.
Yeah, so I guess even before we open it up for questions from the audience, so Blendor, if people are listening, how would they get their own WAGMI to participate? Is it too late to be in this past cohort, since it ends today? Are people looking forward? Just what is the process for getting WAGMI if people are interested?
I mean, this current cohort is, yeah, today's the 31st, so you still have the chance to participate in it. If you were interested in more details on how the WAGMI V3 cohort looks like, how to participate, you can always go to our website, to our blog. Every beginning of the month, every beginning of the new WAGMI cohort, we also publish release notes where we explain in details how to participate, what are the KPIs. So if you go to our website, boba.network or www.boba.network/blog, you can find our WAGMI V3 release notes on our blog. Other than that, just scroll down our Twitter or basically any other social media. We've been also dropping information on how to take part, who is taking part in the WAGMI cohort. Other than that, just stay tuned for V4, WAGMI V4, alongside with a couple of new surprises. Will be a really interesting foray into the whole KPI incentives. So, yeah, website, check the blog, see the release notes, and just stay tuned for new alpha that will be dropping anytime soon.
And I'll add on to that, Blender, and say, Boba was kind enough to involve us in the current cohort of WAGMI, so V3. And that's the opportunity here, folks, for people who want to jump up and kind of quality contribute. We did have somebody attempt to contribute before, so we're probably looking for more actual substantive discussion here. So if you jump in here and ask some questions and get involved and show your interest, then you might very well see WAGMI V3 DMs.
And while we're waiting for people to jump up and request to speak, I also kind of wanted to go back to what we were saying before about how across V2 can now like track WAGMI. Could you explain that a little bit more, Chase? Like, what does that actually mean when we say, okay, now across 2 enables WAGMI tracking?
Yeah, it mostly just means kind of the KPI that, Boba is looking to reward is like participating in the Boba network. And because across V1 focused on moving money from an L2 to an L1, the only people we had information for that we had kind of event data for were people who were exiting the L2s. Now, across allowed you to go L1 to L2 in V1, but all we did was our front end just routed it to the canonical bridge. That's not true anymore, and now you can use kind of a cross going both ways. And so because of that, there's now kind of information on chain that allows us to say this person moved from this chain to Boba, and that's the behavior that kind of we want to reward. Is the point of this is we want people to be using Boba in ways that are productive to the Boba network, and we have that data now.
Okay, perfect. That sounds great. So wanted to see if anyone did want to ask any questions about WAGMI or perhaps about anything that we had talked about previously about across V2. The floor is open and you are welcome to request if you'd like. It looks like you left him speechless. So, just going off of this, I was curious, like Chase, and or Blendor, are there any other like partnership opportunities that you think V2 enables? Are there any ideas that you have or kind of like future thinking, tasks that we could implement?
I'm really excited for the V2 of Across because I think that in terms of bridging across V2 is like the German Autobahn. You just like, pedal to the metal, just like it's quick, it's fast. For everybody out there, if you haven't tried it yet, go and try it. I think that the good products speak for themselves, and it's been an amazing job, like what you've guys done with it, especially with like moving assets from different L2s for a couple of bucks. These are the type of things that we should be working on in the future, and just like connecting all of the different layer twos, and creating tools that will help normal guys like me and all of the other degens to just enjoy spending their money on different chains. So yeah, kudos to across V2.
Yeah, I think there will be tons of opportunities to continue to collaborate. I think we've really loved working with the Boba team, and I think kind of being able to move these assets on and off so quickly is really going to kind of strengthen this partnership and help us keep finding these opportunities to work together to do across or Twitter Spaces. You know, I like chatting with Blender. I think this is great.
Blushing again.
Okay, it looks like we have a request. Okay, Yan, you should be a speaker now.
So guys, hey Blender, how you doing, man? This is just a question for Cross. Just used it, pretty good, pretty fast. Basically no slippage, which is really good. A lot of people hate that slippage whenever they're bridging. Do you guys have any plans of implementing BSC bridges as well? Because that's a huge market, right? Or are you guys just trying to stay on the Ethereum chain? Or, well, I guess you guys have bridges to Polygon as well, but any thoughts on BSC?
Yeah, I think we're open to implementing any chains. These were the ones that were kind of the lowest hanging fruit. I think either they had the best kind of, so one of the, this will, to get into the actual technical details, you'd have to talk to people who are on the engineering team. But one of the requirements that our infrastructure has is that there's some kind of a messaging bridge between mainnet um, and the chain that we're communicating to, that we're kind of moving funds between. And so these chains, I think Arbitrum, Boba, Optimism, and Polygon had message bridges that we were familiar with. So they were the ones we started with. There's definitely plans to expand our support though. And if you have opinions on this, we'd love to have you come into our Discord and kind of say, hey, this is something that I would find useful. Can you what's the, how can we get that implemented? And I think we'd love to chat with you there.
Yeah, for sure. All good. I'll get in touch or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
just
please
wanted
do, because
to.
we've talked about a lot of these chains, and I think it is important. Our goal is to be a one-stop shop, and so we want to be adding more chains.
Yeah, no, 100%. Just because I get a lot of questions within the Boba community as well, just to see, how people can bridge from BSC over to Boba. So it would be great to have a cross, right? Since you guys are offering really low fees anyway. So it would be a good way to incentivize users to bridge over using a cross.
Definitely, yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question, Ian.
All good, guys. I'll hop off the speaker. I don't know how to do it. Maybe you can kick me off or something.
Yeah, I will kick you up. Thank you.
Chase, and you raise a good point there that I just wanted to plug, is that we are kind of actively developing the Across community, and have been doing so for the past year or so. So there are a lot of opportunities to get involved, to come and join us. We have a proposal out for the launch of the Across token that is coming soon at some point. So certainly stay plugged in to what's going on at Across, and join in, if you want to. And you do that by joining our Discord. Go for it, Lana.
Sorry. So we also have another request for someone to speak. Let me bring him up. Preet, you should be a speaker now. Did you have a question for the team? Preet, I think you're muted. Did you have a question for Boba or Cross? I think Preet might be having some mic trouble, so I am going to bring you off from the speakers right now. But if you figure it out, just request again and we can bring you back up. Okay, so just moving on from that, Blender, I would love to know on your side. I know you shared some alpha with us. You gave us a little bit of hints of what's to come. But are there any other things on your side that we missed? Anything new that you'd like to talk about to drop?
So basically, it's getting warmer in Europe. I think it's going to be a really hot summer, but not only hot summer in terms of like the actual temperature outside. I also think it's going to be a hot summer in terms of all of the different events that the Boba Network team is attending. So we've been really present on the ground. We've been traveling around the world, connecting with people all across different countries and regions, and just like seeing what's happening, generally speaking, in the whole space. I just came back fresh from a conference in Croatia, and I was really impressed with what all of these teams in the Balkan region are building, and all of the different people just being present there. I know that the current market situation is like what it is, but people are building. So, and of course, Boba team is also building all the time. So, I mean, get ready. So even if the markets are not looking too great, I mean, there's been a couple of positive movements lately. Uh, Everybody is just, working as hard as they can. We're also coming up with a lot of new things this summer, and just stay tuned. Like, we'll be dropping alpha here and there. We are very excited for our WAGMI V4. And yeah, follow us on our social media. More hints on Twitter and all of the other places.
Hey,
I feel like
Blender,
that
is Boba going to be at ETH NYC? What's the next place that they can catch you?
Ooh, to be completely honest, if you want to talk to Blender, come to East Prague. So I'll be heading off to East Prague like next week. Wow, next week. Yeah.
Nice.
We'll be in a lot of European places. We'll be at Consensus. We'll be at like all of these different places all across the world. Um, so yeah, if you want to speak to me specifically, hear a lot of my bad jokes, or just like drink a beer, I'll be in Prague in the next like 10 days or something like that. Uh, Other than that, we're also hosting a lot of virtual events. We are present on a lot of hackathons. Uh, I mean, we have this spreadsheet of all of these events that we are going by the end of the year. And don't worry, we'll be tweeting and letting you know when we'll appear somewhere all around the globe. But yeah, consensus is like the biggest thing that's coming up. If anybody is going to consensus, you'll probably see our booth there. And yeah, just follow social media. It's way easier, because there's so many things happening that sometimes I can't even follow all the different things that we are doing. Just check our Twitter. Safest bet to do so.
So is the message to stop by the Boba desk and not ask for Croatian Boba, right? That's the idea. Just ask for regular Boba. Because Blender will not know the answer to that one.
I don't know. Is it? I want to be professional on this space. Croatian boba, no. Boba tea, probably.
And what about the across community? I know UMA folks are going to be around consensus, probably ETH New York, right? There's a DAO New York as well. Anna, are you going to be out and about?
I do not know if I will be out and about, but Chase, are you attending anything soon?
I don't know, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, same
Uh,
here.
I feel like I should know. I feel like we definitely will have people at ETH New York, and if we don't, then I'll definitely choose to go because New York is the best. Um, and then consensus is, I think there's a chance I'll be at consensus. Um, we'll definitely have people at DevCon, which is coming up quickly. But I don't know. We'll be places.
Yeah, and we will post any updates on our Twitter as well. So just look out for that on our pages and you will see where we are. I think it may start to be time to wrap up this space. I wanted to see if anyone had any additional questions, whether that has to do with Across V2, WAGMI, just general questions for Boba or Across. Now is your time to request and come up on the stage. Once again, it looks like you might have made them speechless. I do not see any requests. I'll give it a couple more seconds, but if we do not get any requests, I think it might be time to wrap up the space. What do you think, Gabe?
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I think, man, I'm excited about all the alpha here. I got to make sure I go and double check those Boba tweets, see what I can find.
Oh, it looks like we have a speaker as well. SB, did you have any questions?
Hey, hi.
Hi, SB. Did you have a question for the team?
Yeah, for the Boba team, like, I mean, just wanted to know about the staking that they have in the Boba. What's the APY that they give, and other details if they can give?
Yeah, so we currently offer staking on our gateway. So if you just go to our website, gateway.boba.network, you can read all about the staking that we currently offer. If you have like any specific questions about staking, you can always send us a DM on Twitter or on Discord. Do you have like any specific questions regarding staking? If it goes to like a very technical question, I'm going to warn you that I'm a marketing guy. Like I know some of the technical details, but not everything. So it will probably be best just to like send us a DM or just drop in our Telegram or Discord chat, and all of our community mods and other more technical savvy people can help you out with any specific questions.
Sure, I'll do that. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks so much for coming up, SB. Do we have any other questions before we wrap up the space? Okay, Gabe, I think it may be time to wrap up. Do you want to take it from here?
Sounds like it. Yeah, no, I just wanted to say thanks everyone for joining, especially to the Boba team. Blendor, always a pleasure to have you. Love the jokes. You're a good guy to work with. And I have to say the whole Boba team is really cool to work with. So always been a pleasure working with you all. Chase, thanks so much for joining. Appreciate your expert knowledge in the field and your ability to really give a good explanation of V2. Super excited for the launch. Super excited for continuing to work with Boba. Tons of alpha just got dropped. Stay tuned with us. And then if you want to join and talk about kind of across and get involved, join our Discord. If you want to join Boba, jump over on their Discord as well and send Blendor all the dad jokes you can think of so he has it in his repertoire for consensus. Otherwise, I'll end there. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, guys. It was a real pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.